talking about here. What is a health disparity?
A health disparity is something that's preventable in terms of factors that lead to different health outcomes, things like education, things like the disparity is really about the difference in a health outcome that we know could be prevented for some reason.
The key word being preventable.
Right. Right.
Okay, so this is titled, For the Sake of All, a report on the health and well-being of African Americans in St. Louis and why it matters to everyone. Can you tell us a little bit about what this study is here?
This was an attempt to really talk about what we in public health call the social determinants of health, which is just a fancy way of saying that where you live, where you learn, where you work, where you play, all have an outsized impact on your health. When most people think about health, they think about health care, what happens in an ER or a doctor's office. But it turns out that these social and economic factors have sometimes an even larger impact on people's health outcomes.
Larger than how good of a doctor I have.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what did you find? What's in here? We're giving us the nutshell version here.
Sure. One of the more striking findings is the one that you mentioned, the fact that where you live in St. Louis has a strong determination on how long you can expect to live. And the zip code, it turns out, many of us in public health say that zip code is more important than a genetic code for determining what your health outcomes, your life outcomes and your health outcomes are.
Is this new information? Is this something that we already knew, or we kind of intuitively knew, and now we have something concrete? What's in this book in terms of its freshness, I guess?
I think what's new is tying all these strands together. I don't think anybody is surprised that the African American community is struggling with disproportionate poverty, for instance, or that educational outcomes might be poor. What is different about this report, we believe, is tying how is health connected to education? How is it connected to economic status? And what are the kinds of interventions that we might do in terms of education, in terms of economic and other factors that could actually have an impact on health?
Was there a statistic of some kind in here that even surprised you?
I think what surprised me the most, we tend to think that the work of the civil rights movement is over. Dr. King gave a speech on the Mall in Washington, and now everybody is equal and free. And what we showed, this isn't a backward glancing report, but we do note that this year is the 60th anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education, the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and a lot of those indicators haven't changed a lot. Poverty hasn't changed a lot in St. Louis. Unemployment is actually higher among African Americans than it was in 1970.
There's a lot of good information in here. Is there some action that I would imagine you hope to see?
There's a great deal of action we hope to see. We made recommendations in 6 areas, and they're not necessarily what people would intuitively think of as health interventions. They're things like early childhood. They're things like school-based health care, things like making sure that neighborhoods, no matter where you live in St. Louis, support health. Are
there some common threads you see? We're going to break down some more of those, or all of those suggestions, but is there a common thread that you see in all of those?
I think the common thread is that health happens in context. Health isn't just about your personal choices and your individual responsibility, even though that's a necessary, though not sufficient, factor for determining what your health outcomes are. All of this happens in context.
There's a lot of information in here, and one way that I think you did a great job of making it accessible is with a young woman named Jasmine. Who is Jasmine? We're going to hear about her throughout the night. Can you just kind of set her up for us a little bit?
Jasmine is a girl who is born into 2 separate set of circumstances, and it was an attempt for us to try and distill all of this data and all these facts and figures in a story, which is the way we understand life, and talk about that context, talk about how important it is, the kinds of resources that Jasmine has available to her.
Okay, well, let's do just that. We have a visual way to learn about the early years of this character's life called Jasmine.
Much of the research reflected in the For Sake of All report examines the intersection of circumstances and outcomes. Let's simplify these complex issues by looking at one little girl's life. We'll call her Jasmine. What if Jasmine is born to college-educated parents who have stable jobs and income? Let's call this path number 1. They start saving early for her future, and in this case, she also benefits from healthy food options and safe places to play. She attends a high-quality early childhood education center. She grows up in a nurturing environment, exposed to many fun learning activities and opportunities. But let's take a look at another path. Path number 2. In this scenario, Jasmine is born to a single mother working 2 jobs. She's struggling to make ends meet, which makes spending time reading to and interacting with her daughter more difficult. Their neighborhood lacks safe places to play and also fresh and healthy food options. Jasmine stays with her grandmother during the day, spending many hours inside. Her grandma loves and watches all her grandchildren, but she lacks the resources to do learning activities. She's also limited by her own health problems. The research tells us the subtleties in Jasmine's story matter. She's already been impacted by her circumstances before she even gets to the first grade. Speaking of school, back on path number 1, Jasmine's school district has many resources like state-of-the-art technology, tutoring, and college counselors. Jasmine and her classmates expect to attend college. In her other life, Jasmine is still intellectually curious. She wants to attend college but receives little guidance. There is also no savings account to help her pay for it, and she lacks basic financial education. She suffers from health problems that make it more difficult to learn in school. As we'll see later, these divergent paths will continue to impact Jasmine's future. But what are the solutions?